prepping to pitch your music. Instead of pre-production, we could call this pre-pitching. Let's say we have created this album. I've gone through the checklist. I've mixed everything. Everything is beautiful. I'm ready to take that album now and pitch it to libraries. People ask me all the time, I can make music, but I'm just kind of not sure how to pitch it. You need to listen to this part. Like the end of last week and this week, and the album I got signed yesterday, I poured over every song to make sure it was fabulous and rich and well edited. What do I mean by well edited? Besides mastering, let's say the mastering is done. Admittedly, with an album that's just solo cellos and maybe some other orchestration that I've done, no vocals, it was fairly easy to mix, and mastering is light. You don't want to kill this stuff. It doesn't need to be slamming, right? Cello and orchestral. But well edited means I checked all the beginnings to make sure there's just not a lot of dead time. Somebody's going to press play to listen to this album, see if they want to put it on their library. Well, is it going to play right away? Or is it going to be 7 seconds before something starts playing? So I made sure the beginnings were tight, and I made sure that there wasn't any noise, because I was dealing with real cellos and microphones that were picking up these cellos. So there could be chair squeaks or different things like that. Bows hitting the wood or whatever. Same thing with endings. I made sure the endings were clean. I made sure that each of the songs ended well, and when it was done, it was not too quick of a fade, but it was a fade enough before you heard any noise or anything like that. I made sure the mastering was right, which again was not a big part of the problem with an album like this. And then I take very careful stock of what the titles are. What are the titles? What are the song names of each of these? And these were all well-known songs, and those names being known, like Beethoven, like Bach, like Holst, like some of the, like Chopin. Well, that's helpful not only for the library to say, "Oh, yes, I want that song," because I know. Sometimes you even know the song before you even listen to it, because you can see, if you know classical music, you can see the composer and say, "Oh, I know what that's going to sound like." So the song name had a little bit of a thing on it. I did this too with a recent project for Celtic Harp. It was a Christmas project, and we listed the year each one was written, because they were written like in the 1500s or the 1600s or something like that. So that was kind of the name of the song, which is kind of known, a Christmas song, plus the year it was written. And that way, that helps the music supervisors, people who are trying to look for music for a show, and it's based in the Middle Ages or something like that, and they want a song that's Celtic, and they know, oh, it's from 1592. That's going to be perfect for this thing. Let me just try that. So song names is part of prepping to pitch, because I want to make sure all the song names are just right. Then I get the partner of the song, if there is one, to sign off and let me know they are also happy with the mix and the master and all that. And I let them know what's going to happen if a library accepts it, because there are different deals that different libraries do. How the PRO is going to work, how the sync is going to work, how the mechanicals are going to work. The next thing I do is put the album on disco and get it ready. And this is just like releasing on Spotify or streaming or vinyl or CD or whatever. You got to get the songs in the right order. That makes it an experience for the listener. I don't care if the listener is one person at a library. It could be hundreds of people through the years from TV shows and stuff looking at these song titles and listening to these songs in a certain order. And then I make sure I've got 24/48 waves I'm putting up, which also in disco will go ahead and make you MP3s and also can make you instrumentals if it's a vocal song. And I do artwork. I do a piece of artwork. You've already seen I did a piece of art that I'm hiding. And you can see a little bit of it at the top up here, but you can also see that there's a cover, and there's a cover that goes on each song here. And I have to admit that I do use AI for this. I used to use stock libraries for this, but I just have decided that it's a little bit more eye-catching to use AI. This isn't necessarily going to be the cover that the library uses. As a matter of fact, it likely won't be. They have their own art departments. Some of them even have their own mixing people, their own engineers. So this artwork is really for my presentation to the library and my presentation to people who go and look at my library on disco. Then I will take it into Photoshop, and I also mess with it in there and put titles on and stuff like that. I keep mentioning disco. Let's talk about that just for a second. This is the Roadhouse Jukebox album. Again, you can see the cover I did for it. Good old boy country songs from your average Roadhouse Jukebox. And you can see the songs. You've seen the list of those, and this is the end result of that album, ready for anyone to listen to. Also, what they're able to do is over here on these three dots, they can click and download the wave in MP3 and AIF, and you want libraries to be able to do that in case they want to show that or send these around or something like that. They can download all versions. They can save it to their Disco account, which is kind of like saving to your Dropbox, so that's very helpful. Here's my catalog at Positive Spin Songs. This is set up so that people can search it by mood. They can search it by instrument, tempo, all that kind of stuff. So Disco is a very helpful tool. Music Management Solved, they call it. It's pretty much the industry standard now for this stuff that we're doing and working with sync licensing in general, I think. But you can use it. I know somebody who's using it to send stuff to radio right now. I use it for marketing. All of my albums on my Positive Spin Songs page, they are all links to a Disco album. And so you can use it for that kind of thing. You can use it for marketing. So I just find it's very useful. There is a link to Disco down below if you're interested in figuring it out. And let me just say this about Disco while we're talking about it. And you're saying, why is all this necessary? Couldn't I just throw it to SoundCloud? First of all, you want it to be a nice presentation. I just showed you what one looks like. You want to make sure it's downloadable, and you want metadata on those things. And Disco allows you to do that too. But you also want no freaking commercials, because nothing is going to get a music library to quit listening to your music like a commercial coming on. I was listening to a guy's music, and I've already talked to him about this, so I'm not talking about his back. And it was great. I was hearing all these tracks, and they were very nice quality. And then all of a sudden, an ad for SeaWorld came on. Well, in my head, I was thinking, wow, he did music for SeaWorld? And then I saw that I was just stuck in an ad for 30 seconds and couldn't get out and listen to another song. And I only had a few minutes to listen. So, folks, I don't think SoundCloud is something you need to be using to send music to libraries anymore. I think you need to be using Disco, and I'm not even going to say anything else about it. But make sure the pitch presentation is going to be a complete joy to a library. They don't have to download anything. Never send a download. Never send MP3s. And I think when they get a nice presentation and it's something different and organic and unique in some way, it's almost a no-brainer for them. Like I said with the Roadhouse Jukebox album, we looked at it. It's very pretty. You know, it's all ready to go. And I've already pitched it once. I'm getting ready to pitch it to some other libraries. It's a beautiful thing. If they like the music, then it's a no-brainer. They've been presented a nice way. They can download it if they want to, and they can save it to their Disco if they want to and listen more to it later. So I just really think that you've got to be careful on how you are putting these things out and sending them. You want it to be a beautiful presentation.